Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Is this Wednesday? Yeah, it is Wednesday. It is hump day. What's going on, everybody? Dr. Tony McNeill here with a pop up conversation with a dear friend and colleague, Reverend Amanda Hendler-Voss. And we wanted to come on and talk about a wonderful opportunity that is available at First Church, First Congregational United Church of Christ in downtown Washington, D.C. Those of you that follow me know that part of the work that I do outside of my job at Columbia Theological Seminary is to serve as a worship arts consultant with churches and helping them to find worship arts leaders, musicians, artists to serve, and helping to place worship arts musicians and ministers of music, worship leaders in churches. So I do this consulting thing on the side and bridging the gap between musicians and artists who are looking for places to serve in ministry and churches and congregations, faith communities who are looking for musicians to serve in their communities. And so today I am happy to have with me a guest, a new friend and colleague, the Reverend Amanda Hendler-Voss, who serves as the senior pastor at the First Congregational United Church of Christ in downtown Washington, D.C. And we're here to talk about the position that they have available currently at the church. It's a part-time position for a director of music ministry. So if you are here joining the broadcast, I've got a couple of folks on now. Just type in your name and where you're joining from. Just say hello to myself and Pastor Amanda, if you will. I always love to know who's joining live, and especially those of you who will watch this as a playback. Just say hello, if you will. Good afternoon, everybody. Those of you that are joining, happy to see you. Dr. T here with another pop-up conversation. And today we're talking with Pastor Amanda Hendler-Voss. If you just say hello, for some reason I can't see the comments, but hopefully you're responding. That's okay. Well, we're going to, there we go. I see one. Wendell Woods, thank you so much for joining from New Jersey. Anybody else out there? Good to see you, Wendell. Hope all is well. Well, let's jump into the conversation. Reverend Amanda, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to First Church and your role there as the senior pastor.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tony. And I just want to thank you for having me on. It is such an honor and a blessing to tap into your network of remarkable musicians and folks across the country who really care about music and worship and arts and worship. What a blessing for me. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
So as you mentioned, I serve as the senior minister at First Congregational United Church of Christ in downtown Washington, D.C. We are at the corner of 10th and G, located right next door to the Martin Luther King Jr. Library. It's a wonderful setting, and I began there and I'm happy to say, the first female senior minister in their over 155-year history. Wow. So I began actually in mid-March of 2020, which I'm sure, as you can imagine, what else was happening in March of 2020, it was COVID times. And so it was a very strange time to be onboarding. We talk about things they don't teach you in seminary, right? And boy, did we learn a lot about music making, about hybrid church, about accessibility, about how to remain connected in community despite all that was happening and in those trying times. So really the beginning of my ministry was a lot about getting us through COVID in ways in which we were able to stay connected and rooted in God's love and rooted in God's call to us in that time. In more recent years, it's really been about cultivating our vitality. And we know that worship on Sunday morning is the most important time of the week for the church. It is the time when we all gather in God's presence. We come together as the body of Christ. And so this position is really at the heart of that. And so I'm grateful to be here today talking with you about that.
Awesome. Wonderful, wonderful. Tell us a little about tell us a little bit about the church's history and its mission and vision. And maybe tell us a little bit about your pastoral vision for corporate worship and this position at First Church.
Sure. So we were founded in 1865 by abolitionists from the Lincoln administration. And one of the things that I have learned, I think many of us have learned, is that not all abolitionists believed in full equality. And so 4 years into our church's history, there was a major rupture in the life of the church over an integrated communion table, an integrated Sunday school program. And unfortunately, the pastor was on the wrong side of that. He wound up leaving the church and took half the congregation with him. But one of the primary lay leaders who remained was General Oliver Otis Howard. He was the head of the Freedmen's Bureau and also is the namesake of Howard University. So there were folks in our midst who played a role in founding Howard University. And after the split happened and we were in a financially precarious situation, Howard University actually circled around, paid the note on our building and saved us for another day. So we have a very strong relationship with Howard. I think in recent years, we have been trying to learn how to tell our story, which has inevitably, as you can hear, had at its core the desire for racial justice. We've been learning to tell that story with greater nuance and honesty, doing the work of lament. We've acknowledged recently that our church, our building sits on land that was at one time a tobacco plantation that was worked by enslaved laborers. And so we're coming to terms with how do our Christian practices, how does Christian ritual invite us into lament, into honest conversation, into truth and reconciliation, and into the work of repair. So that's a little bit about our history in terms of how I see our music ministry in recent years. I was blessed to be part of a team that created an anti-racism audit for congregations, and it began here locally in the Central Atlantic region, but is able to be used across the country actually. And our congregation was the very first to test it.
Wow.
And so we underwent that audit process in 2022. We completed it. It was a year-long process. And coming out of that process, we really heard just a hunger in the congregation to expand our vision for our music. And I don't mean expand by like having more choirs. We're actually a fairly mid-sized congregation, right? We're approaching 225 members. Our choir, it's all volunteer. So we're not talking about sort of a fancy high-end music program, but what we are talking about is a real desire to expand the reach of sacred music in terms of the genres that we have in worship. We are really about making a joyful noise unto the Lord. And we value accessibility, I would say, more so than excellence, right? When you're here in DC, you can go to the Kennedy Center, you can go to some of these huge steeple churches for just the most profound music your soul has ever feasted upon. That's not us. We are authentic, we are genuine, we are joyful, and we want our music to be accessible, but we also want it to move beyond what has really comprised the core of our music over many decades, which is, Western European hymnody. There's nothing wrong with that, and that will continue to be part of our music. But we want to move beyond that, right? We want to move into more contemporary gospel. We love jazz. We are interested in multilingual music. We are interested in global folk music. So we really want to expand the reach of our music. I will say, we do have a pipe organ, and it is exquisite. We also have a beautiful piano in Estonian. It's a wonderful instrument. But we don't have to have organ every Sunday, right? And there are lots of other instruments and musicians within our community. We enjoy violin, we enjoy a brass quintet, we enjoy all kinds of different instruments to add to and enrich our worship experience. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a sense of.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing brief synopsis of the intentional work that you and the congregation have done and are doing to make the congregation vital. And what a wonderful gift to the community. So thank you for sharing those kinds of things. I see a couple of more folks have joined us. I am thrilled today, everybody, if you're just joining, to be having an impromptu conversation, a pop-up conversation with Reverend Amanda Hendler-Voss. She is the senior pastor at the First Congregational UCC Church in downtown Washington, D.C. They have a wonderful part-time position available for a director of music ministry. And we're here just to bring more visibility and awareness that this job is available. You can go to my website to see the job, post it there at Dr. Tony McNeill, drtonymcneill.com/jobs is where you can see, or you could go to the church's website, which is showing below here at firstuccdc.org, and you can find the position description there. Thank you so much, Pastor Amanda. Tell me, why is First Church a good place to serve? And what could a director of music expect as an employee of this church?
Sure. Well, off the top of my head, there's three great things about First Church in DC, and that is, first and foremost, the people. It is really a remarkable congregation. People who bring all kinds of various backgrounds, but it's truly a congregational church. In the United Church of Christ, our congregational churches are churches where there's a very active leadership from the body of the congregation. And it's just really a beautiful community with which to work. So number one is certainly the people who care deeply about justice, who care deeply about welcome, and who take seriously, and this is number two, place. That our context is at the corner of 10th and G in downtown DC. We are next door to the Martin Luther King Jr. Library, and we are within walking distance of the White House. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a few blocks away, but we take that context very seriously. We are constantly navigating what it means to have a progressive faith voice for justice in sort of, in the heart of the nation's capital. But also in the public square. We are a community-facing congregation. And the final thing I would say is space. So our building is very modern. It does not look like a church from the outside. This is our third building on these grounds, right? We've been on these grounds since 1867 because the church was actually originally founded. They originally met in the House of Representatives, if you can believe that. So we've been on the site. This is our third building. And this building, it's a multi-use building, but our space is for us, right? And The sanctuary it's gorgeous, it's modern. The aesthetics are incredible, and the acoustics are even better. We were told by the architects that you can do your best to plan for good acoustics, but really it's by the grace of God. And so we have a lot of performance arts groups throughout the city that use our space. They rent our space and they use it for concerts because people love singing and making music in our space. If you have never been to our space, you can look online, you can look on our Facebook page, you can look on our YouTube channel, you can look on our website, and you'll see images of our space. And on our YouTube channel, you can look at some of our recordings of our worship services. But there's really nothing like being in the space in person. It's just wonderful. And yeah, I would just say one thing that is possibly a little bit different than many churches is that we're not sort of just like your sleepy neighborhood church where nothing's going on there except for the church programming. We utilize our building. That's part of our ministry, is to utilize our building to a great extent. We have an art show that's happening there. We rent space to Pathways to Housing, which is an organization that serves unhoused and precariously housed people in Washington, D.C. The Washington Chorus also rents space from us, office space. So we're a multi-use building. And so there's scheduling, right, that has to take place, and the church always gets priority. But we're a busy building in that way, and that's, I think, a good thing for somebody to know.
Oh, wow. It is exciting to be a part of that community. I mean, all the things that you just named. Yes, it sounds like a busy, busy place, but a haven for the arts. Oh my God.
Truly.
And one of the things that musicians love, I know I do, are good acoustics.
I tell you what, you sound better automatically.
Absolutely. You can take a not so well-prepared choir and make them sound like angels if the acoustics
Yes.
are working in your favor. But that is so good to know, and to know that the church is open to arts organizations coming in and sharing and creating collaborative opportunities both for the community and the congregation is amazing. My dear friend Patrick D. McCoy, who is an arts critic and enthusiast in the Washington, D.C. area, is in the chat. And he is alluding to the fact that your church is beautiful. What is that Patrick said? There you go. He says, beautiful church. The Heritage Signature Chorale is singing there in November. Yeah,
we
thank you
love
so
the
much.
Heritage Signature Chorale.
Yes, dynamic performing arts group. And got some folks from Howard University who are in the chat as well. Terrence Mayo and my friend Byron Nichols. So thank you for sharing that rich history. And I never knew about that connection between your church and Howard University.
Yes.
That is awesome. Yes. And it speaks to the resilience and power of HBCUs. I feel so encouraged by that story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Talk to us a little bit about what is the current reality, and you've alluded to some of it. What is the current reality of the music and worship ministry there? Talk about the morale, the programs that you have going on, the active ensembles or ministries that are currently serving the church. Tell us a little bit more about those kinds of things.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned earlier, there is a real hunger to expand our music. And so we have kind of coined the time that we're in right now as an experimental season in the life of our music ministry. And we do have a couple different ensembles that are popping up. We have actually a huge young adult group in our congregation. We have 40 young adults who are associated with the life of our church. And one of the ensembles is a young adult ensemble that includes percussion, piano, vocals, and we're hoping to bring guitar into that and possibly violin. And they are really bringing more contemporary, more of a contemporary flavor and some contemporary music into our midst. And it is being received with joy and gratitude. So that's one of our ensembles. We have another ensemble that's really focused on folk music, Americana music. They get into some blues and some gospel, and part of that ensemble is actually one of the lay leaders in our church who is really responsible for all that you see on the fourth floor of the African American History and Culture Museum. She is a musical curator, and so she is part of that ensemble. Dr. Dwan Reese, and it's a wonderful group. And then we have everything from, we've got these two brothers. They're wonderful. They're both piano tuners. And so one plays the piano, the other plays the trombone, and they sing, and they offer these really remarkable pieces that they have written. So we're seeing all these different kinds of ensembles pop up. As I mentioned, we also are gifted with a lot of instrumentalists. One of our members who worships with us by Zoom is a member of the Costa Rica Symphony, and she plays violin. She's often there over the holidays, and we get to hear her live. We have another violinist as well. We're just really blessed with a lot of wonderful music. We also have a brass quintet that we trade with. So they hold a concert there, and then they love to worship with us because they said, this is not like a typical worship service. We really enjoy coming and worshiping with you all. So we bring in music from outside as well. As I mentioned before, we do have a wonderful pipe organ and a wonderful piano as well.
Do you have a pipe organist, someone who plays the organ on a regular basis, or?
So right now we have a designated musician. His name is Dennis Turner. He's wonderful. And he does it all. But for this position, for the purposes of this position, we are open to two different configurations, right? We're open to, if somebody does it all and they want to fulfill the entirety of that position description, we're very open to that. That is really what we've had in the past. But we also understand that folks specialize in different things. And so we're very open to splitting this into two positions, one being more of a music planning and choral direction, and accessing and leading our these ensemble groups, giving them, resourcing them, and the other being a keyboardist, accompanist. So we're open to splitting that out. But yes, we don't necessarily have to have pipe organ every Sunday, but it's a beautiful instrument.
Wonderful, wonderful. It sounds like this is a space full of possibility in terms of integrating music that's not only indigenous to the Americas, but international possibilities. And it sounds like you have a strong volunteer base of singers and musicians who come from a wide variety of different backgrounds and abilities that could create enormous and wonderful opportunities for ministry. So I am so grateful that you took some time out to hop on with me to bring further clarification around the job. For those of you that are joining, this is who have just joined. This is Reverend Amanda Hendler-Voss, who is the senior pastor at the First Congregational United Church of Christ in Washington, D.C. And we're just here talking very candidly and casually about the part-time position that they have available for a new director of music. Pastor Amanda, you want to talk about the position itself in terms of the number of hours and who the person would report to? I know a lot of that is posted in the job, but if you want to kind of quickly do a synopsis of the position from a personnel standpoint.
Sure. So the position reports directly to me, but works in conjunction with our associate minister, the Reverend Sam McFerrin, works in conjunction with our lay leadership, with our choir. This position would have a role in helping to select the music, certainly in directing the choir and all things that are choir related. Would really play a role in ensuring that our musical ministry is something that is accessible and enjoyed by the entirety of the congregation, right? Not just folks who think that they like church music, not just folks who think that they have a musical gift, but really, yes, tapping those gifts within the congregation, but really creating a music ministry landscape that is inviting to people who may have different denominational backgrounds, different levels of skill. So yeah, that's the picture. That's the job in a nutshell. Really, we certainly have as a United Church of Christ congregation, we celebrate holy seasons of Lent leading up to Easter, of Advent as the time to prepare our hearts for the mystery of incarnation and Christmas. And so, of course, there are those times during the year when there is more special music that comes to the fore, when there's more planning, when there's more collaboration. And then there's typically over the summers, we really draw on home folks from within the congregation to provide special music. Right now, our choir sings on the second and fourth Sundays of the month, and we have different ensembles that sing on other and lead music on other Sundays. We're very open to what the future might look like, but this is definitely a transformational staff position in that we are asking somebody, again, not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but certainly we are on the cusp of transitioning into a new season for our music ministry that is more expansive, that is more inclusive, that we believe will transform the church. And so this person would need to be equipped to help take us to the next step with all of the support that I can provide and that our lay leadership would provide as well.
This is excellent. Excellent, excellent. So wonderful opportunity. And there are a lot of musicians and folks who are connected to musicians in the chat. And I want to say hello to everybody and thank you for coming by to this pop-up broadcast. If you know of anybody in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Northern Virginia area that you think would be a good fit for this part-time position as director of music ministry at First Congregational Church, please tag them on this video. Please put their name in the comments or DM this video to them. I'm going to keep this video up here on my personal Facebook page and the call to worship page, and I think it's being streamed to my YouTube channel as well. So feel free to tag folks from any of those platforms and make them aware of this wonderful opportunity to serve this vibrant congregation downtown Washington, D.C. Is there anything else, Pastor Amanda, you'd like to say to everybody that's joining here about the job or about the opportunity before we sign off?
There's one more thing that I want to share, which is that we are an open and affirming congregation.
Absolutely.
And in the United Church of Christ, what that means is that we welcome LGBTQ individuals and families into the full life and leadership of our church. That's very important to us. We have been proclaiming ourselves open and affirming since 1987. We were the 14th church in the United Church of Christ as a denomination to declare ourselves open and affirming. So just want to make sure that folks know we often say this motto, no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. Amen. So a progressive, justice-seeking church in the heart of our nation's capital. And thank you so much to everyone who's taken the time to tune in or to watch this later. I'm just so grateful.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to just say hello to some folks before I sign off. I see Callie Day. Hey, Callie, good to see you in the chat. Our friend, the Reverend Dr. Benjamin Liddell Bragg Reynolds, is in the chat.
Hello,
My
Reverend
sister,
Reynolds.
yeah, my sister Candace Boyd. I see you, and definitely Patrick D. McCoy. And who else? Byron, Terrence Mayo, who's joining us from New York, I think is affiliated with United Church of Christ. And my friend Patrick Bradley, who is joining us from Texas, Dallas, Texas. Thank you all so much for being here. And again, this broadcast will remain up on my website and on my Facebook pages uh, from now until the position is filled. And this position is open until it is filled.
Correct.
That is the newest update. We did a search earlier and thought it would be good to extend the time so that we can have access to more candidates. And so let people know this position is available until filled. Anything else before we leave, Reverend Amanda? This has been great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to hop on Instagram and do the same kind of thing. But before I go, I forgot one thing. I want to give anybody that is joining the broadcast a chance to ask any questions. You could type those questions real quick in the chat, and we'll see if Pastor Amanda will be willing to answer any questions that you might have. And again, the job description is available to be viewed at the church's website that you see listed there. And you can also see the job description on my website, on the jobs page that's dedicated to advertising positions that are available in churches and places of higher learning. So either one of those places, you can learn more about the job and what is required to apply. Any questions anybody might have before we sign off? Okay. If not, you can leave your questions in the chat, and either myself or Pastor Amanda will come back and answer your questions at a later time. Right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and you all have a wonderful and blessed Wednesday. We'll see you at another time. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.